As an avid Pokémon fan, I've played a multitude of Pokémon games, and when Pokémon GO released in 2016, I made no exception to start playing as soon as I could. I've been lucky enough to put thousands of hours since week 1 trying to get the most out of anything there was to do in Pokémon GO. So when the GO Battle League was introduced into the game in 2020, I made sure to get on it. I quickly learned the mechanics and enjoyed playing GBL, but as the years went by, something didn't feel right about Pokémon GO PvP until one day when it finally clicked. When Pokémon GO joined the Play Pokémon circuit, I was genuinely surprised. It felt too soon to be adding it, being relatively recent since adding GBL, and prominent bugs pertaining to PvP consistently occurring. Yet, when I thought about why this decision was made, it started to make sense. As Pokémon GO has changed over the years, it has been no exception to monetization, increasing prices to remote raid passes or paid tickets for nearly every single event. But another way Pokémon GO could have been monetized was the GO Battle League. Upon release, GBL required players to walk a certain distance to play more than one free set of 5 battles a day, or players could pay Pokécoins. That's how we're making money. One slight problem though. Now players can't do the walking requirement, so now there is no walking requirement. Luckily for the players, to this day that change won't be reverted, but for Niantic, now there's nothing to benefit off of players who are maxing out sets in GBL, unless we get some outside help. Hey Pokemon, do you think Pokemon GO could be added as a game to the Championship Series? We're getting a ton of players who are playing our newly introduced GO Battle League. Sure Niantic, sounds like the GO Battle League was a success. We can get you in as soon as next season. Great, that's awesome. And so it began. Pokemon GO joined the Championship Series, being a part of regional championships, international championships, and the World Championships. And with players actively engaging with the growing PvP community, surely there will be plenty of players to compete in these events, right? Over the 4 years Pokemon GO has had tournaments, there has been a steady increase in the number of players participating, but when comparing the stats to the other Pokemon games, it is yet to be the game with the highest player base increase. Pokemon GO wasn't helping its own case, having a dramatically lowered number of eyes on it due to a GO Battle League releasing 4 years after the initial launch, or the onslaught of bugs that to this day players have to face. After years of attempting to grow, it's clear that there isn't a large enough player base to reach the big numbers, but despite these flaws, I think the gameplay itself might fundamentally be the biggest problem with Pokemon GO PvP. Similar to Pokemon GO, Pokemon Unite is a real-time PvP game involving Pokemon. In Pokemon Unite, running at 60 FPS, you are able to input attacks at any of these 60 frames per second. Likewise, in Pokemon GO, it's a similar story. Tap somewhere on the screen to input attacks at an interval of 1/60th of a second. Except it's not. The mechanics in Pokemon GO PvP are quite simple. The game works in intervals of half a second, called turns, updating whether a Pokemon uses a faster charge attack or switches. But here lies the problem. An average human reaction time lies around 300 milliseconds, less than the 500 millisecond intervals that Pokemon GO's turn system runs on, fast enough that it can be possible to react to every single action that takes place in a game. Additionally, because the game only checks for inputs at half-second intervals, there is technically no reason to tap any faster than once every half second, effectively making Pokemon GO PvP run at 2 frames per second. If you were to remove all animations, any skill expression is no different than if the game only updated every half second. This is a large reason why I said Pokemon GO PvP is solved. At 2 FPS, it can be easy to perfect the best outcome of a game because there is always enough time to react to every possible situation, a skill ceiling that is very easy to reach. By far, the easiest way to play Pokemon GO PvP is to play in the GO Battle League. By ranking up after playing against other players, you can get exclusive avatar items and a pose for each in-game season. But realistically, what benefit is there to playing GBL? Sure, you can get the exclusive pose, but after that, what's the point? If you want Stardust, go catch stuff. If you want TMs, go do raids. But what if you wanted to have your name on the leaderboards? I get wanting to be near the top at least one time, but every day? Every month? Why? There's no benefit, at all. No extra rewards for ending the season at a certain leaderboard placement. No championship points to gain. No exclusive avatar items. Nothing. As it gets easier to hit legend rank the more you play, the less motivation I had to actually play GBL. Even getting that special pose didn't feel that important after over 20 seasons. But the reward system isn't the only reason I strayed away from GBL. No, that was just a small part in a much bigger reason. Let's say a new cup is about to start in GBL. You look for a team to play, and the first set goes 4-1. Nice. That's not a bad start. Let's keep going. And you keep going. Another set, the same team game after game, day after day, slowly gaining points. Good leads stay in, bad leads swap out. Oh look, it's a lead I've fought before. Let's play the game the same way. Oh look, it's the same team I've fought before. Let's play the same way. You see the problem? Running the same team game after game, it's boring. There's nothing new to see or learn after playing just a few games, so why continue? The way I see it, my mind resets when a game starts. Seeing that countdown forces you to think only about the game that is about to start, forgetting about the last game, forgetting that you are doing the exact same thing for the 20th time that day. After years of playing GBL, it became rarely fun. Not because the meta was bad, but because the team you run gets stale after only a few games. But then why not play a different team? That's the problem. Once you stick to a certain team, you start winning with it, and that urge to play something different goes away quickly. But even then, with the simplicity that are Pokémon GO PvP mechanics, with a new team, you won't really bring too much new to the table. Some things do more damage, and other things do less. Is it really that different? And just to add fuel to the fire, GBL isn't just boring, it's frustrating. Constant glitches that have existed for years, or queue times increasing as fewer players invest time into playing GBL. The time sink of taking multiple hours every day for little benefit just wasn't worth it. I played GBL for many years, but now I really don't want to go back, because realistically, there was no reason to start in the first place. A big part of a competitive game is the ability to be innovative, break out with something different than everyone else, showcase something that hasn't been explored before. But in Pokémon GO, that is quite literally impossible. With such a large gap between the best Pokémon and everything below it, it becomes extremely difficult to innovate with something that hasn't been used before. Due to the best Pokémon having such a big weight towards having good stats and a good moveset, hundreds of Pokémon have never seen the light of day to be competitive, strictly worse than most things above them. 90% of Pokémon have an objectively optimal moveset, with the remaining 10% coming down to a coin flip on one charged attack. Plus, there exists a statistical ranking of Pokémon that objectively shows how some things are better than others. The idea that this can exist leaves zero room for innovation, because every Pokémon has been solved. If you're forced to use the few dozen good Pokémon every time you make a team, what's even the point? It falls into the same trap that GBL has, forcing your mind to reset when making a new team, unable to realize that you are doing the same thing for the 100th time. Another big problem with Pokémon GO PvP, in my opinion, is a huge lack of skill expression. In many competitive games, it can be easy to find the small details that can pull apart an intermediate player with a well-experienced player. But with Pokémon GO, after learning type matchups, move timing, and switch advantage, there isn't really much more to learn. During a battle, oftentimes, there is nearly nothing that can be done to give the better player an edge over the worse one. So much of a best-of-3 set is determined purely on team composition, and it is well possible that a new player can sweep an experienced player, RPS game after game. How does that demonstrate skill? Because the mechanics of Pokémon GO PvP are so simple, there are no small details that could give a better player an edge. It makes every single battle losable, because after a certain point, Pokémon GO PvP doesn't take skill. After playing Pokémon GO PvP for multiple years, I was no stranger in watching PvP gameplay, but the more I watched, the more I realized that it was not as interesting as I thought it was at first. Pokémon GO PvP down to its core is actually quite predictable. Watching two players choose a team, then observing the huge advantage that one player has, and finally knowing that that player is very likely to win is just not interesting to watch. Accurately predicting the outcome of a game before it happens is, well, quite literally the definition of a solved game. After learning the basics of what's going on, there's practically no excitement or unpredictability that Pokémon GO has that makes it enticing to watch. Pokémon GO PvP's gameplay is simply not that engaging. Tapping the screen at the end of the day is only enhanced by the animations of the game itself, not anything that the players do. So if you know that every time you tap the same thing is going to happen, there leaves nothing that can keep you on the edge of your seat, nothing that can make you excited to see what will happen next. It was never a problem with the community, the way tournaments are structured, or any of those logistics, and to my own surprise, it was never the bugs and inconsistencies. The little skill expression and just purely static gameplay couldn't keep me interested for any longer. When I competed, I chose to almost never practice, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't need to. There was always an objective direction that Pokémon GO PvP takes you, and that fact made it easy to reach the top. When it was created, Pokémon GO PvP was simple to begin with, and honestly maybe shouldn't have ever been added to the Championship Series, because if that walking requirement was never removed, who knows, maybe none of this would have ever happened. But that's not to say that I'm not glad to have been able to meet the people that I did or have the ability to compete in official tournaments. From the beginning, all I really wanted was to give Pokémon GO PvP a chance, and although its outlook could have been great, it really never reached the potential that it probably could have. Until next time.